On this episode of Watch Stuff With Us, Monsters, the Lyle and Erik Menendez story, episode 5 review. Thanks for checking out and tuning in to another episode of Watch Stuff With Us. I'm JD.
I'm Katie.
And this is our review for episode 5 of Monsters, the Lyle and Erik Menendez story. It was a tough one to watch, but we just want to thank you, first of all, for rocking with us.
Yes.
We have had an amazing week, so we just ask you to continue to like, subscribe, comment, and share whenever you feel the urge to do so. And I hope you get that urge all the time. Creepy. So this episode was a little tough to watch again. It was entitled The Hurt Man, and we'll get to the reason why it was entitled that a little bit later on, but this was a rough one to watch. I just want to first start off by the way the episode was shot. It was incredible just to do what appeared to be a one shot. I know you can kind of play around with stuff to make it so that you have cuts in there that you can't really tell, but it was shot as a one shot, zoomed all the way out, and eventually it zoomed in to just Erik and him having his conversation with his lawyer, and detailing all the horrific things that he had to deal with and his brother, and just the level of abuse. And then as the conversation went on, you got more into his psyche and how he was feeling about everything that was happening to him. So it was tough to watch. It was riveting television, though.
I don't believe I moved for the entire episode. I don't think I moved a hair on my body. It was so engaging, intriguing, powerful, emotional, extremely emotional.
Yeah, I felt myself, getting a little bit emotional just watching how emotional he was about the situation. And I can't even imagine going through something like that and having it repeatedly happen since the age of, 5 or 6. Like, he talked about how he had memories of being in second grade, and the feelings that he was having then and the memories that he was having then. Like, those are your formative years. Those are the times where you're supposed to be developing who you are, what your self-worth is, what your reason to be is. And a lot of that is through your parents. Your parents are the ones who instill that in you. Your parents are the ones who give you that confidence. They give you that base. They give you that encouragement, that confidence to be a good person. And if you don't have that, it's a struggle. And on top of that, if you're being abused at the same time, it can break a person. And I really feel like, unfortunately, Erik is a broken man. At least he was at this point.
I agree. I feel like his emotional maturity has definitely been stunted due to the abuse that he went through.
When you say emotional maturity, what do you mean?
He seems to be, he's like a little boy. He's in a little boy in a man's body. He seems to be maybe around the age of, 7, 8, possibly to 10, but I would not say into his teen years even.
One of the other pretty shocking things that Erik discussed was that even through all of this, he still loves his dad. And he still feels as though his dad is in a better place now because of the things that eventually happened to them. And that now he can look at his boys as being strong and that they're Menendez men, as he said. And because of that, he's going to not necessarily love them more, but feel like they finally accomplished something of note. And it's a very, very, very twisted way to think of the entire situation. And it just shows his, the amount that he was willing to go to gain that love and affection, or at least the admiration of his parent.
Yeah, and for the boys to have also mentioned in multiple episodes that their parents would be proud of them, their father would be proud of them for doing what they did. That just alludes to how twisted that family was and their concept of masculinity, their concept of love and strength.
Another aspect that was interesting from the show was the fact that it seemed as though the father may have been abused as well, because he talked about how Menendez men were and the things that they had been through, and that this is what we do, sort of kind of alluded to maybe that train of abuse had, gotten to his dad before him, and then it was
Right.
passed down to Lyle and Erik as well.
I remember looking at you and talking about like how many generations had this gone on. It may have gone on multiple prior to even the father being a child.
Their lawyer played a pivotal role in getting this information out of Erik as well. And she also shared a very harrowing story about the abuse that she underwent when she was a child, too. So I know that she was being empathetic, to say the least, and probably also feeling some sympathy for Erik as well, which is understandable, because I feel as though I sort of transitioned from empathy to sympathy as well, as you heard more and more about his story.
I feel like he also was very happy to have somebody to talk to about that. As we could see in prior episodes with him discussing things with this therapist, he really
Mm-hmm.
didn't like to bottle things up.
Mm-hmm.
He really wanted somebody to be able to confide in. I feel like she played a role as not just his lawyer, but also as a therapist in that moment for him, kind of coaxing everything out of him, but in kind of like a caring way.
And the fact that Erik was constantly looking for that person to talk to, like, that shows that, even the things that he did in the end, at least the way he's being portrayed, I always say that. I don't know if this is the truth or is this how he really is, but the way he's being portrayed in a light that showed that he is constantly looking to do something to help himself, like going to the therapist in the first place. There are a lot of people who can't admit abuse. And even from the very beginning of this, Erik was the one who was the driving force to wanting to go to therapy. Like, he wants to fix himself. He wanted the
Yeah.
help.
He felt very guilty for what had happened, but also had all these emotions and feelings that he really wanted to discuss with somebody. He really was craving to have somebody to talk to.
Then on top of all this, they explained that the mom was a part of the abuse too, and how she would do inspections on him and who knows what else that she did. So just to not have anybody in that home had to be completely miserable, completely devoid of any light. And the only light that he probably had was his brother, which sort of explains why they ended up being as close as they were. Going back to the mom real quick, she appeared to have felt like Erik was coming between her and her husband. Like, how twisted is that? And at the end of the day, your mother is the one person who they gave birth to you. You should have that connection with them above all else.
Right.
And for him to be betrayed by her as well, it's horrible. And to finish this episode out, when we first started watching and I clicked on Netflix, I saw that the title of the episode was The Hurt Man. I'm like, what is that? And then in the very last, 4 to 5 minutes of the episode, they explained what the Hurt Man was, and that Erik was actually the Hurt Man. And that was almost a character that he had created to sort of separate Erik from the person who was being abused. And man, it's hard, now not to be emotional watching or even talking about it now, and knowing that he was trying his best, he was doing his best. The abuse that happened was going all the way up until weeks before they were killed.
Right.
And I honestly, I didn't believe that. Like, that's incredible. Like, these are grown men at this point still being abused by their father and by their mother. Like, there was a scene where, or at least a flashback where either Erik or Lyle were standing at the fridge and the mom like slapped the button. I was like,
I thought that was weird too.
yeah, a little weird. And now that you get a little bit more background on it, you sort of understand where some of the things are coming from.
And
And
more why she allowed
mhm.
this to be hidden and continue. with
Right.
the father.
Right. Just the circle of abuse in this show, in this episode, in this series, and unfortunately in the lives of many people is just nonstop. And my heart goes out to everyone who might be watching this, even if you're not watching this. Just my heart goes out to people who are victims of abuse, and I hope that you're able to get help so that you're able to at least somehow piece together a life that can be of some benefit to someone, including yourself. And on that somber note, I guess we're going to end this episode and recap of Netflix's Monsters, the Lyle and Erik Menendez story, episode 5. Man, it was a tough one to watch, but I hope that you were able to watch this with us and process a little bit. We really, really, really appreciate you hanging out with us and watching some stuff with us. Like that's it always sounds so goofy and you watching some stuff with us, but that's what you're doing. So be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share, comment. We appreciate all the comments, all the likes that we've gotten, all the new subscribers that we've gotten. Like we've only been doing this for another week, maybe a week and a half at this point. Yeah. Since we've come back, and the love that we've gotten has been amazing. So we just ask you to continue to support us. This week we're going to be adding some more things to the repertoire that we might have been doing before. And I use the word repertoire. Yeah. I feel like we are growing, and that's exactly what you want when you're on YouTube. So thanks again.
We appreciate you.
More than you know. I'm JD.
I'm Katie.
And thanks for watching some stuff with us. We'll see you later.
Bye.